So I had this great session with my life coach, and just like recovered so many little straggly fragments of my experience that had still been lodged in my body, I guess, in my energy body, and that were going under my radar because the coping mechanisms that I had to deal with those things were just good, and they were allowing me to function just fine. So those things were kind of going under my radar, and by looking at a dream, we were able to like pull a bunch of stuff up, and it was so great, and I had a wonderful release. And by the end, it was kind of this realization that in those little pieces that were still unprocessed in me, there was still gold to be found. There were still nuggets of gold waiting to be discovered within my own experiences. And so this reading is going to be, where are you digging for gold within yourself right now? What experience would be helpful to reflect on to help you find your gold? It's something that you're probably already aware of, maybe you're working on, maybe it's right below the level of awareness. But this is going to be up to you to use your own intuition to decide if one of these has a message for you. And at the time that you find the reading, it would be the appropriate time for you. You may find the reading again in the future, may pick a different reflection to consider. That would make total sense to me. And remember that this is meant to be helpful. If it doesn't feel helpful, then it's not meant for you. Okay? Because any readings that I'm putting out are meant to be helpful. They're not meant to hurt you. They're not meant to confuse you or leave you in a disempowered state in any way. So if at any time that happens, you can let it go. If you find yourself activated into a trigger, then please do take the opportunity to work through that if you can. And if you need help, I do have my calendar up on my website, and you can definitely book a one-on-one session with me there. Okay, so let's start with some picks. What are we going to use to pick from? What do we got in here? Oh, some rings. Okay, let's do the rings. These are my traveling crystal rings. So what that means is these rings, when you wear them around, if they break off and you lose them, that means the crystal used you as a means of transportation, and the crystal is now relocated where it is meant to be at this time. If you find the crystal, of course, you can reclaim it and bring it with you and reglue it. And if you don't, then it's meant to be found by someone else, or have a resting place where it is at the time it breaks away. Okay? So, I'm going to lay these out on this journal, which is looking rather beat up as I'm about to show it to you, but here it is. You'll see the last two are pretty similar. They're both clear or rutilated quartz. I can't really tell if they're rutilated or not. So we've got this green stone, the orange is the carnelian. I'm not sure what the green one is, to be honest. It could be aventurine or something like that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4. And we're going to start with pick 1. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Did you hear that crow passing by? I love that. And I also love that my tank top is yellow, my journal is yellow, and I've been doing a lot of solar plexus work today. So it just seems appropriate that I've got a lot of yellow surrounding me. Yeah, I reclaimed some of my disempowered parts today. That was really cool. Alright, pick one. Let's see where you're at. What's going on with pick one at this time? You're leaving behind some disappointments and betrayal. You may feel sort of withdrawn, like not really wanting to participate in a way with things that you were. You may feel like it's time to draw your resources in. You're looking at your own worth. I love that. I'm hearing the crow and the 10 of swords in this deck. It came in reverse, but see, you've got all the crows flying by there. And they keep checking in. So it's a passageway. You're in a passageway. Coming into balance between your masculine and feminine side, but maybe even also like you could be withdrawn within yourself to be dealing in a relationship that's very healthy and loving. Like coming together in a relationship and not really participating in the outside world as much. Maybe keeping the relationship quiet. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of mystery and hidden stuff around you. Maybe not ready to reveal and be vulnerable about the love that you're finding, that you're sharing either within yourself or with another. Yeah, I think you must know that you're entering into another segment, another phase of life where it may involve travel, it may involve changing directions. And before you go, you are looking to the past. Maybe like exactly what I explained in the intro, my gold nugget was from the past. It was from a past experience that I had gone through. And I think you may be looking at past things, or the relationship may be with someone from the past. Someone that you've known from childhood. Someone very loyal, like a best friend kind of energy. Someone that you've been curious about and vulnerable with, and stuff like that. Okay, just need to pause for a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, let's make sure we stay hydrated while we're digging for gold here. Okay. So, looking at these cards, and I know you can't see them, but this is the setup I have at the moment, so. Yeah, really, there's something that you put in the past. It's some sort of disappointment or betrayal or ending that you're looking back at, you're introspecting. Maybe looking at how it changed the way you love. Okay, before I take those from that astrology oracle, I'm going to do this deck. Tell me about pick one digging for their gold. Where are they going to find their gold? What's the gold hidden in? Betrayal. Okay, so you're looking at a time when you've been betrayed. Someone you trusted very, very much. Someone you loved. Someone who you felt was your equal. Someone who you felt was your mirror, was your counterpart. Someone that was very abundant and wealthy maybe, and independent. Oh, the card that came out. Let me see if I can grab it without wrecking everything. Heartbreak. Okay, so you're looking at betrayal and heartbreak for some gold. There's some gold in this hurt to be found. Okay. What can be looked at and sorted through? What's the gold that they're able to extract from this situation? What's the gold? Paying attention to how you feel, like maybe you had to ignore some of your red flags and uncomfortable feelings. Noticing when you're not in the flow state, right? Like, let's see, your soul family, Libra, coming into balance, commitments, 14 days, and other people. Okay. So, I think this has caused a fear of commitment, a fear of even maybe being in a relationship and trying to, like, trust. Maybe anytime you get into a relationship now, you try to know all the things about it and won't let your feelings really get solidified and deeper. Okay, one moment, please. Okay, so there's something, sorry, I had to just like stir some food that's cooking. There's something that's needs to be reprocessed and reparented. So I feel like the experience mirrored something you had maybe witnessed or seen happen in childhood, or been shown to you, modeled to you in childhood, or as a result of a wound in childhood. Maybe somebody mirrored to you, like, this is how you handle relationships, so that, and I think maybe that advice could have even been heartbreaking, and it caused you to have to even betray how you feel and how you felt and how you wanted to operate. That's one scenario. Let's look at what's the gold. You're going to regain your ability to be in balance and to commit, to make commitments. I think you've been hesitant to be in a commitment because of this. And you've been hesitant to trust, like, what you want and what you feel. Rather, you've been, like, going towards, like, what you were told. Like, how it was modeled to you, or how it was, like, a decision you made earlier on how to handle your heart. You either witnessed betrayal, or you were betrayed, or probably both. And so I think you, like, the result is that you tried to stay in control of things, try to influence them. Even in friendships. This could have been a betrayal in a friendship as a child, like a brother friendship, like a good friend. It could have been your brother. Your own brother could have betrayed you and caused this heartbreak. Yes. You've been limiting the amount of yourself that you're willing to share, who you're willing to share with, who you're willing to gather with, who you're willing to love, whether or not you're even allowed to have a tender heart. It's been affecting how much money you make, your trust in everything, your foundation and what you're paid, and being, you know, just a part of life. And you've kept your standards at a certain level, which is basically survival. Because you needed to find a coping mechanism for what happened. You did. It was sufficient. It was efficient for the time you've had it. And now the goal is that you get to raise your standards after acknowledging this and validating and inviting yourself to level up. And then inviting those around you to level up too. It's like, I want to deal on this other level now. Do you want to deal on this other level now too? Yeah. You gain back your authority for your own self, which causes you to be an example of doing so as well. And I think that maybe you've surrounded yourself with people who understand and cope like you, so that you didn't have to explain. It's like they're doing it too. They're avoiding some of these things too. They're only allowing certain things for themselves too. But this allows, the goal is that you set yourself free, you heal by processing through and validating why you have that feeling, being present with it, that betrayal and heartbreak. So it's the pain. You're trying to avoid feeling the pain of that when that happens, and you're doing a bunch of other stuff in order to avoid it. And some of that is keeping your standards low. And so as a result, the people around you have low standards as well. And so you're more at risk of having that happen again, in fact. And when it is happening again, it is for the purpose of allowing you to see the hurt in yourself and process it through, so that you can understand what that hurt is and make your decisions based on that, knowing, with the wholeness of who you are and what you know now. So the wholeness of who you are and what you know now is that you don't have to cut yourself off from all love just because that happened, but you can learn to be more discerning about where you're willing to place your trust. And if you have lower standards, then it makes sense that you've been placing the care of your heart into the hands of people who also have lower standards. So when you raise your standards, it kind of solves it all. You see? How you just kind of have yourself like lodged in a place where you're coping in this way, everyone around you is coping in this way, so you're trying to avoid feeling this, but you keep attracting this because everybody around you is also in that same kind of pattern, and you're just activating it all in each other. Someone has to become aware of it, find the gold in it, heal themselves, and be the example of that it can be healed. Let's raise our standards. Wow. So the gold in this is that you can actually spark an inspiration, and it's not to do it for the expectation that others will be sparked, but that's what will naturally happen. Just the same way you learn to cope maybe by seeing other people hurt, you inspire other people to set themselves free when you are the example of that. Cool. Alright. So, pick one. I hope that's helpful. Remember, it's just some information to reflect on. Only take what's helpful. Only reflect on what makes sense to you. And maybe we'll see you in a future reading. Bye now. Okay, pick two. You chose this carnelian. It's funny, it looked dirty-ish from that angle, but it doesn't look that way It doesn't look that way in real life. It doesn't look brown at all. It looks a little bit yellow on the top, if anything, like that feel. Very interesting. Okay. So, things may not be as they appear. let's take a look at what's going on with pick number 2. King of Wands in reverse. Knight of Wands. Taking a step back. Nine of Wands in reverse. You're taking a step back to reevaluate something. Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Something that you invested in, you're kind of taking a step back to look at it a little more. Maybe looking at the reasons why, what makes up the whole scenario and situation. I don't think it didn't bear the fruit that you expected. That is the Ace of Wands. A new inspired idea. During this time of introspection, something else has been catching your eye, or your awareness has been expanding. Yes, as you're questioning things, looking at cause and effect, and your awareness has been expanding. And I think you're looking at why whatever you were doing wasn't working. Where it was calculated versus where it was really like a piece of you. You've been in a situation where you couldn't shine. I think maybe things have been good on the surface, like if someone were to look, it would look fine. But it feels like maybe you've just been going through the motions. And you're looking, it's boring. You're looking at it because it's boring, and you're like, why have I been doing it this way? Okay. They're telling me to use the other deck, and I'm like, well, I'll just look at this card later, but I think I'll just listen. I'll just get this other deck. I want to unfold it in a certain way. Okay. Now, what's the gold we're digging for here? What's the gold in this situation? PTSD and CPTSD came up. All right. The way you've been doing it has been a way to cope with something. Something where there's a risk for shining. It's like you maybe did it the way you did it so that you wouldn't quite succeed, that you would just blend in, that you would just get by and not raise too much attention. Yeah. You got into this trance state in order to cope. Maybe even took on some addictions. Okay. Alright, there's gold to be found in these traumas, okay? In these coping mechanisms, in these trance states. let's see. Okay, so the gold you're looking for, it's hard to see why you did it this way, because it's actually avoiding a trauma that you don't want to look at. And that's why it's been hard to figure this out. It's been really hard to figure this out because there's a part of you that didn't want you to see it. Okay? And I feel like you are longing to be authentic. You want to be who you really are. You don't want to be just going through the motions and blending in with what everyone expects of you and doing it to avoid I think the trigger and the repeated trigger is that if you shine, then something happens. It's avoiding of shining your light. It's avoiding of being in your power. You've been avoiding, but this was part of the plan that you would experience this. So what you're headed towards, it will be useful for you to have had this experience. One moment. Okay. So I want to be clear that I'm not diagnosing you. If you don't already know that you have, some of these things going on, PTSD and CPTSD and addictions, I'm not diagnosing you. It may not be your pile if it's not something you already know about, okay? But I'm just explaining how this could possibly be working so that you can reflect on it and see how it applies to you and what it makes you think and feel, so that you can look at within yourself, okay? Because you have the answers for this, so I want to be clear on that. Now, there's some real solidified feelings within you in this situation that are not this deception here. Let me think. You've told yourself a story about how this is working and what it means to do it this way. That is just not the truth. That's what's niggling at you. That's what's eating away at you, and why you're having to withdraw and kind of look within and be like, well, why aren't I happy? I'm doing all the things. I'm successful. I have happy family around me. We have everything we need. We've got the money. It's because in order to cope with a very uncomfortable trauma, but also a trauma that repeated over time, because that was done several times, you had to tell yourself a story about what was happening and how to cope and what was going on. Now I see this happening in my own life, in my own experience. It happened when, say I was getting abused, but I was depending on this person to provide for me. I might tell myself a false story, pretending that, oh, it's okay that they're abusing me, they have this issue, and explaining it away. Or that it's not affecting me so much, or, anything like that could be this false story. It's like you feel like you have a lot to be thankful for and to celebrate, but you haven't been able to. And you know what it's making me think of? I had a wounding pattern where it was anytime I was going to be happy, I was waiting for somebody to take it away from me, because as a child, if I was happy playing, a lot of times it was go do a chore. My happiness was not appreciated, allowed, and encouraged. It was taken from me whenever it was noticed, because there was something else more important to do, like a chore, clean my room, do my homework, take care of a sibling, So maybe it's when you get into celebration, you're not really able to celebrate who you are and shine, because something in your coping starts telling you okay, this is, do this, or I must stay busy, or, you know what I mean? Yeah, so you may not be fully allowing yourself to celebrate life, to shine in life, to enjoy what you've achieved, because you really have achieved this. You really do have that abundance and happiness, and you're wondering why you can't enjoy it. And it may be because at some point earlier on in your childhood, potentially, someone kept taking away your happiness and your celebration, and instead presented you with something else to do or feel. This became a trance state for you to cope with by telling yourself a certain story, and now that's been playing out, and it's a certain way that you've been deceiving yourself, and the gold is that you can now free yourself. The gold is that you can now free yourself by being present with the part of you that is afraid to shine. Talk to that part of you. What will happen if you're having fun? What will happen if you're enjoying life? You know, so because this is part of your soul plan to experience this and understand how this works, it will be important for you to understand and take this knowledge forward. You are finishing up this cycle. This is something that you're finishing up, okay? So maybe you've already dealt with layers of this before in your path. Social media. Maybe you're going to share about it. Maybe social media is the way that you cope in some way. Maybe it's like portraying a certain image, or maybe you have an addiction to social media. That may be where you would start showing your integrity and your authenticity. What is it that you agree to in life? Do you agree to somebody shaming you into having to do chores every time you're having fun? Do you agree to putting aside what you value, which might be enjoying life, enjoying the fruits of your labor, and shining your light and being passionate about it, in favor of what others are expecting you to do? What is going to let you be most true to you? And can you do it in a way that doesn't tell you the story that it's not okay to shine, that it's not okay to have attention on you? Because I think that you are going to have attention on you. Your new story may want to include the fact that you may be known. You may have a presence on social media that is influential. The gold is the love and the trust and being in your integrity. You're getting that back. That's your gold. You're taking your trust in yourself and your love of life and celebration of life back by digging back into some coping mechanisms with, you know, it's actually a trance state that you go into whenever something certain happens, where you're going to have the light shined on you, where you're going to be the center of attention, where it's going to matter that you're having fun. Something happens where you go into another state, so that is going to need your presence. You may want to do some tapping. Look into Faster EFT on YouTube. That might be a very good resource, because he explains for free how to move through these kind of things. But wow, and it seems like there's an addiction that's going to fall away because of the gold that you find here, when you don't have to avoid certain things anymore. That is really beautiful. I'm seeing parting ways in the bucket too, so like there may be, you know, people that you part ways with because of the new way of coping. You know, because really when we've surrounded ourselves with people who expect us to be a certain way, sometimes some of them do fall away when we change and we start being more authentic and in our integrity. So that's just a side note and a side effect. Okay, so just take what's helpful to you. Just take what is helpful for you to reflect on. No diagnosis here. Just helpful information to reflect on, to see how you feel and think about. And if it's not helpful, don't take it. Okay? And, yeah, that completes this reading for you, pick 2, and perhaps we'll see you in a future reading. Bye now. Hi, pick 3. Okay. I just had a little break between pick 2 and pick 3. So we're getting back into this here. And we're looking at, where is pick 3? Where are you at, pick 3? We got Knight of Pentacles, the Tower in reverse, Seven of Swords, Page of Wands, the Fool, Ten of Wands in reverse, and the Knight of Cups. Okay, let's see. Did okay, someone who's focused on making money. Then there's a tower. So things kind of crash. Like, it reveals that there's been some deception, some sneakiness. Someone's been lying. Someone's been plotting. And somebody's been telling. There is a passionate, like, grabbing of freedom after the things crumble, where it's like, all right, let me recover myself from this, grab onto the last bit of passion I have for going forward, and take a leap of faith, pioneer into some other direction. I don't even know if I'm prepared. I don't even know if I'm prepared. I don't even know where I'm going. There's no path before me, but I'm going with my heart on my sleeve. I'm going in love. I'm going willing to be a romantic. I'm going willing to indulge in things that are intimate and fun and loving. Okay. 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 So what is the gold here? It's buried and there's been suffering. Excuse me. So perhaps this tower moment, when you found out there was some deception going on, some sneakiness, may have caused you to suffer and totally, like, we've got death and competition. So it put an end to something. There was some sort of competition here. Maybe it's like you were in suffering trying to compete with other people around something that I feel like wasn't even that important to you after all. It felt important. It felt important to win. But I think you had to bury a part of you, and that kept you in suffering. And it was this loving part of you. It was this loving part of you. You dealt in passion, you dealt in money and material things, but you did not deal in love. And now you have realized that love, you're willing to invest in love. Okay, the gold is in the part of you that was buried and suffering, like that. When you dig up that part of you, when you look at and question those parts of you, it's like you're the Knight of Cups now, beginning in love, willing to explore love, willing to see. But there is a mastery of emotion and love that you will potentially achieve once you rescue this part of you. There may have actually been a death here for you, because we got death and then we got Melpomene. Melpomene is an asteroid that represents grieving, loss, grief, and so, or just drama. So if there was no death, it could have been death for some of you, and even if there wasn't, there was a lot of drama and grief. So this whole process, like even the process of like gearing up to take this leap of faith maybe feels dramatic. This definitely has to do with another person specifically. There is another person involved in this situation. And it's time to balance the scales. It has to do with your career. And it's been unclear, like all the thing, it's a spiritual thing, and there is victory. There's some sort of victory you're going after, and it will affect your career. It's like your career had a crumble though, so it's like you're balancing the scales with someone before you enjoy that victory. You know, maybe the victory was in walking away from something that was sneaky and deceptive to you. There was a loss and a grief process for that. It balanced the scales so you can be successful in the career. So the gold, we got 3 people in reverse. Children and playing, that maybe you just, been taking things real serious. Partners in crime, 2 of a kind, me and you, a couple 2. And then provider. It's like you're going to get your true love, but maybe there was someone interfering or someone deceiving you before. You're generous, there's gifts, there's comfort, there's partnership, there is a willingness to put your heart on your sleeve. So the gold, okay, by being in this situation and by looking at this situation, there's gold to be found in the suffering that you went through. Because this suffering points to something that was deeper. Okay? You, as a result of the suffering, adjusted your course. You, as a result of the discomfort, you adjusted your course. But what you may not have been able to extract yet was that there was something buried there, buried gold, buried treasure, in the suffering and what caused it and what you were doing to avoid it. There is something there to be found in the grief, in the what caused the grief, the circumstances, and how you coped with it. There's gold in there. So the gold is to be found in the reason that you were in competition, the reason that you were focused on your money, and the reason that you were in suffering. Look at those. Look at those things. And why, like you seem like you're a very practical person and able to take steps forward bravely, courageously in that sense. But here you are willing to go take a leap of faith towards love without knowing if you're prepared or not. It's so beautiful. It really is. But before you go, there's some gold to be gotten from the situation that you just went through. The ending provides something for you to understand about yourself. And when you understand about yourself, why you behaved this way, what caused you to, cope in that way, what you've learned from the situation, all of those things, acknowledge, validate why, accept those parts of you, accept the parts of you that wanted to cope that way, accept the parts of you that feel hurt. Take them with you. Don't bury them. There might be a little graveyard that needs some hoeing out, that those parts of you need to be welcomed back in and integrated, accepted and loved, so that they can come with you, so that when your heart's on your sleeve, that you can grow into the King of Cups, that you have a lot more to invest than just what the Knight has. This shows you the importance of depth, shows you that looking below the surface has such value that it then turns you from the Knight of Pentacles into the King of Pentacles as well in your career. So that's why it's like you are jumping into something that is going to like allow you to open up. Because if you don't get the gold before you go into a relationship, in a loving relationship, that's where you'll see it. And you'll see it through tension in the relationship, and you'll be able to dig it up that way, and that may be the way that you prefer to do it, and that's fine. Because it does look like you have your focus on somebody. So you can work up and find the gold in the situation through that. I was just like making sure something wasn't on in my kitchen. And then if you want to like kind of dig around before you go with this person, that's just less stuff to poke each other with, you know. It does seem like you have let go of a interference, a third party, or a you may have lost a sibling. Yeah, some of you actually may have lost a sibling to death. Okay, so it's different things for different people. Only take what is true for you. Don't take it as a prediction. These are not predictions. These are reflections, okay? Only take what is useful to you to reflect on. But it looks like this is pretty cool, and you're well on your way, and you kind of already know that, I think, and maybe it's just kind of fun to see, you know, the reflection showing back at you of the beautiful journey that you're on, because it looks to be unfolding beautifully. Yeah, really nice. You have buried treasure there, and even though it comes through grief and suffering, I think that it aims to be very fruitful and victorious for you. The willingness to go into those things and dig around and look at, acknowledge, validate why they're there, and accept that they're part of you and bring them with you. Those deep feelings of grief and loss and sadness will enrich you as a person and the experiences that you have with others, and especially in the love department. You're more careful with somebody else when you are a person who has the depth of knowing what it feels like to suffer. You're tender, you're caring, you're careful, you're more trustworthy because you've trusted yourself to process difficult emotions. So other people can trust you with their difficult things too. Other people can trust you know what it is to work through your own stuff and be respectful of somebody when they do that. Yeah, it's just a beautiful depth of character that is added to your existence in your life. So yeah, just take what's helpful for you, and perhaps we'll see you in another reading. Pick 3. Bye now. Okay. Excuse me, pick 4. You chose pick 4. This is your reading. First we're going to look at excuse me, what's going on with you. You may be getting ready to share something verbally and clearing your throat and getting ready to lay some news on some peeps. Let's just see. One more. Okay. What's going on with you? Knight of Pentacles in reverse. 2 of Swords in reverse. Ace of Cups in reverse. The Star. The Hermit. 3 of Wands. And Four of Swords in reverse. You've been through a lot. You have been healing the pain of a decision you made to not follow your heart. You've seen the what that's like, and you have been healing from that. So you've kind of gone into hermit mode. You're with some introspection and kind of just like looking and processing feelings, and in this space of hermit, you have found an ignited passion, you know, ready with this new understanding and clarity to move on. And also ready to face any challenge and not let it hold you back anymore. You have kind of like added love as your weapon. It's like you didn't prioritize your heart before, but now you're going to lead with your heart. Now, even in struggle, even in fight, even in combat or conflict or arguments, you will lead with your heart. You have prioritized your heart because you once didn't, and now you know what that's like. Wow. Okay. Oh, the card fell. Hold on here. I'm in a precarious situation here. So my laptop's on this like stand, and I don't want to knock everything over. Caretaker. Oh, caretaker. Where's the gold? Caretaker. What else? Perhaps you had to put aside what your heart wanted to take care of responsibilities. The cutting off from your heart kind of happened at a trauma. There was a trauma that caused you to decide that you shouldn't lead with your heart. And there was this trance state that took over when that happened, that said, I'm going to operate in this other way. And I think caretaking is a big part of it. And it may have happened during a breakup. Okay. So maybe you also put off a breakup because you were caretaking. And your heart was on this back burner. And then you decided to prioritize it. You healed. You healed whatever, you know, I think the disappointment of understanding that you made this decision, and because you made this decision that you made, this is where you're at. And it was just time. It's like the spell got broken and you started caretaking yourself. So there's gold to be found in this breakup, in this caretaker role, and in the trauma. Okay, let's see. You have definitely healed it. You've healed it. The gold is going to be in extracting the wisdom from it. Like, what did you learn? What did you wish you knew going into it, so that you can just take that, only that, going forward. Acknowledge the lesson that you learned. Accept the lesson that you learned. Know that you've cleared this karma. That by looking back at it, it's just to extract the gold from it. There is gold here. It's not like you survived and now you have to, you know, just move on with this understanding that you made a bad choice. No. You made a choice that earned you a piece of gold, so don't go on without your gold. There's I think it was a very slight tension, or maybe you were just used to having things not go your way, so it was easy to live that way. This has been going on for a year and has been affecting your public standing, your reputation, how the world sees you, and what you want to create in the world. Whatever you have now for an idea that you're going towards with passion is going to affect how the world sees you, and will also show you any more places there are gold. There are more golds to pick up along the way in the path forward, and you'll see them through slight tensions. And because you were able to heal yourself in this other situation, you'll be able to do it the same way for these other situations as you face them going forward. And you're ready. You're ready to face whatever. I feel like you know that. Yeah. Big time. Your reputation is going to be affected by this. And it's just time. You know, this was the time for it to happen. And Mura came out. Mura, the mythology of Mura is that she tricked her father into falling in love with her. I think she was punished by something horrible. So there may have been some sort of forbidden relationship that you got sucked into, like a spell was put on you, like Cupid's arrow hit you, and it may have been some sort of taboo kind of thing. Or it may have been someone with daddy issues. And who tried to have you fill that role of dad for them. And this puts you in this cycle. You were susceptible to it because you had this trauma where you didn't prioritize your heart. And it attracted this other person who came along. You got shot with Cupid's arrow. It seemed reasonable to caretake this person. They were actually putting you in the role of father to them. And that is what you called love. Until you couldn't anymore. Until you couldn't ignore that anymore. I think you're a very patient person. You can understand how patient you can be with very little fulfillment for your heart. Right? You got 3 weeks, but you're totally healed from this. It's just a reading about grabbing the nuggets, the gold nuggets from the situation of somebody, you know, basically stealing your heart with your own trauma. And so, like, the wisdom you've gained is a valuable, valuable thing. And maybe you'll be known in some way for what you do with that. Social media. Yeah, you might share about it. You might have a whole, like, influence with social media. You might share with people what happened to you. What happened. And this is something, a cycle that you're ending. Like, the end of the cycle may be that you are known for what happened to you and an example of something because of it. You know, celebrating how far you've come. There may be some surprises along the way. You may be wowed. There may be a reason to celebrate. Like, you're just willing, this is a lot like I think, pile 2, but you're willing to be in love, like, in trust of what your heart wants, and agree to what your heart wants. And because even pile 2, I think, also had social media influence. So you might be some sort of influencer or have a large following on social media. But something here is seen by the public and is affecting your reputation. Maybe the being in the relationship affected your reputation, but it is stuff you've all healed from. Like, you understood this. I believe you've understood this. You understand how it worked. You understand why you did it. You understand where it wasn't helpful for you. And now it's just like a matter of like accepting those parts of you that have been through this, accepting them in, integrating them in, and taking them with you. Like, those parts have learned something very valuable, and they're welcome to be with you. You love those parts of you, those parts that were willing to sacrifice just to take care of somebody. Like, that's a loving thing to do, right? Now that part might have understood that you don't want to sacrifice yourself in the process, because eventually you get worn out. And it's not a great example to be for other people, that we sacrifice ourselves for each other. But now you can be an example of someone who recovered from that, who said, okay, I'm going to take my power back, and I'm going to put myself in the equation, and I'm going to take care of me. And then when I'm filled up, and when I'm strong, and when I have everything I need taken care of, then I can take care of others without myself suffering, with my heart fulfilled, with my heart taken into consideration. That I'm not going to be lured into some situation because I have a wound and it's telling me that I should be doing it that way. Yeah, so beautiful. Because other people have these experiences too, and it's not that you have to like school them necessarily, but you be an example of what it is to recover from that could be very inspiring to other people who may not understand or know that they can come back from that. They may be, just not in the place where they can see it the way that you've been able to see it in yourself. And so you are an example, first, of what you've been through, and second, of what you've healed from, and third, of someone who operates with the wisdom they gained. Wow, that's so cool. I want to remind you that this is stuff to reflect on, that only take what is helpful to you as something to think about, or something to see what you feel about. And if it's not helpful to you, then it's not meant for you, and you shouldn't take it. And perhaps I'm going to end your reading there, and perhaps we'll see you in another reading. Take care, Pile 4.